you.
It says we're live.
We are?
Yeah, we're live, but there ain't no. Oh, here we go.
Alright.
Don't want to. There's only one. Or two.
Let me do a sound check if somebody can let me know that they can hear me.
It's crooked. Who said that? Holly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, they can hear you.
Okay. How many we on?
27.
Alright. First thing I want to do is I want to kind of go back to how this started and everything. So, because there's a lot of people now that's been following the story.
Hold on a second. Alright. Ask him if that's better.
There's been a lot of... Is that better?
We was sideways.
Okay. Is that better? She don't have her thing on.
It's still sideways.
She don't have her thing on. Rotation. You're good? Good? Okay. She said we're good.
Okay, it's better.
Okay. Alright, so what I want to do first is start off with how this all started and everything. On April 27, 2006, at 2:02 a.m., my daughter lost her life to a arson homicide. The fire marshals and other people that were involved in it went to the house on 7th Walnut Street in Jeffersonville, Ohio. And they determined that the house was purposely set. And my little girl, who was 8 years old, Mackenzie, died in that fire. And ever since that fire, I've been finding out more things about what happened, what really happened, what's been going on, and all that stuff. And after a while, I started digging more and more as the years went on, because I couldn't understand why nothing had been done yet, why this case kept being called an ongoing investigation, but nothing was happening with the case. And so I started doing it my own self, started digging, and other friends and family got involved and started helping me and everything. And it's a sad deal what happened to my daughter. Like I said, she went to bed that night and somebody set the house on fire purposely, and they actually killed my little baby girl. Some people have different aspects of how this, I should let the authorities do this and let them solve it. But after 11 years and seeing what I've seen and what I've dug up, shows me that the authorities doesn't care. And I'm going to prove that tonight with a tape here that I have. And that shows what the authorities have done in 11 years. And one of the main things that's hard is my daughter, like I said, shouldn't have never died the way that she died. And a couple weeks ago, I played the mother, one of her stories of what happened that night. And a lot of people that were watching the video and heard the tape and everything, she pretty much had 3 or 4 different stories within 10 minutes of talking to me. And a lot of people say I'm doing this the wrong way, but I feel that I'm doing it the right way. My daughter, Mackenzie, thinks I'm doing it the right way. Any parent that loses a child at a younger age, we always believe that we're going to die before them. But when your child dies and then you find out it's caused by somebody else's hands, first of all, anger does set in, and hurt sets in. But at the same time, I feel any parent would be doing exactly what I'm doing and that's trying to get justice for my little girl. There's a lot of things in this town that I found out that I didn't realize when I came here from Florida to Washington Courthouse that, until Mackenzie died, that I didn't realize it was going on in this town. And one of my biggest things is, first of all, is to get justice for my daughter. Second of all, to make sure that there's changes in this town. That when a child gets hurt or something happens to a child or a woman or a man, that the people that we expect to do their job does their jobs. A lot of times they don't do their jobs, and later on that child or that woman or that man ends up, like with my daughter's case, ends up dead. So I'm hoping to not only get justice for Mackenzie and also justice for other kids, but also to make changes in this town. Now, I know I've stepped on a lot of people's toes in this town. A lot of people are upset with what I do. Honestly, I can tell you, I've always been honest about everything. I don't care. The way I've said it before and told people before, if you don't like your job, find another job. But I am going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep pushing these agencies to do their job. One of the things that upsets me is, and I know people are going to say things about it, and I really, honestly, I don't care. After 11 years, people better realize I don't care anymore what people's thoughts are about what I'm doing wrong. Vernon Stanford promised this community that this was A, an ongoing investigation, B, that it was a #1 priority. After you listen to this tape tonight, you're going to realize that was not what happened here. I'm going to also show where the sheriff's wife made a statement. I'm going to read that statement, and then I'm going to explain that statement to you. I keep saying this, and I keep saying it. It was a cover-up. They're trying to cover something up. If they weren't, then they would be honest with me. And so far, every time I've asked for something or whatever, they've lied to me about where it's at or what happened to it. I'm still waiting 6 years, going on 7 years now for 2 tapes. Now, the sheriff's office did give me 2 tapes. They were 2 other tapes I turned in, but they're not the tapes that I specifically asked for. Pretty much, I'm going to say they're going to tell me that they no longer have them. And the reason also I'm fighting, like I said, they lost the ladder that the boyfriend said he used that night. That's missing from evidence. My daughter's clothes were destroyed. She was murdered in April of 2006. They destroyed her clothes on August 15, 2006. So there's not even any clothes to compare anything to or ask questions about. There's no photographs of the clothes. There's no photographs of the ladder. So this is why I do what I do and why I'm going to tell the story I'm going to tell. And like I said, if most people that's been following me, first of all, I want to say thank you to all the people that do follow me and do put their hearts into this and understand what I'm going through. There's quite a few people that I've met now that are pretty good friends of mine now. They've stood behind me all the way. There's a couple of them here tonight. One of them is one of the guys that's filming this. And we met, and we've been pretty much like family since. There's another couple that invited me over to their house, and we're like family now. So everybody's been touched by this. But the main thing, too, is there's a lot of kids that went to school with my daughter that are now in their 20s, and they contact me all the time, and they talk to me, and they say, that it was, very heartbroken for them that they still relive stuff with Mackenzie and stuff. So why the sheriff's office is not taking these people's answers to, why they hurt the way they hurt over Mackenzie and stuff, why they don't take it how I want to say it, to heart too. But like I said, I've showed enough evidence. I let the mom tell her story, one of her stories. I've read another one of her stories. And I know that there's enough evidence there. There's enough circumstantial evidence there to convict the ones involved in my daughter's death. After I've listened to some of this stuff and I've talked to people and I've dug up things, I realized that yes, the mother is involved. Yes, the boyfriend is involved. And yes, the brother who failed the lie detector test twice is involved. I know I was just told a couple days ago that they're waiting on the exhume test results from exhuming Mackenzie, and then they will know where they're going to go with this. And be honest with you, I'm tired. Those answers will come. I say that we charge with the arson, we go with the arson, we go with the fire, and we bring them in and start with the arson. We know who was in the house. We have evidence that no one broke into that house. No Joe Mo off the city streets walked up and just set this house on fire. The fire was started inside the home. And like I said, the mother's already told one story that she went out the front door. We all know that was a lie. She told another story. She went out the garage door. We know that's a lie. And she went out the back door. We know that's a lie. The boyfriend said that they went out a window together. It's like I said, it's a revolving door with her stories. And I just don't understand why they're not pressing charges and doing their job. So instead, I'm going to do their job for them. So before I start, like I said, there's some people that just now coming into this story and everything else. Everybody knows the truth. There's been people that got on my live feed and talked about the donation money and stuff like that. Like I said, Marianne and her boyfriend, Kenneth Mossbarger, they went on a vacation trip. We buried Mackenzie on May 1st. I think it was May 5th. They went on vacation. They were down there until, I think, the 19th of May, somewhere around there, almost a month in Myrtle Beach, right after my daughter's death. And I'm going to show one of the photographs again and try to explain to you why I don't believe that this is a mother and a boyfriend. You're just told 6 days prior that your daughter was murdered and she was set on fire, and you go on vacation and you don't know who did it. There's no answers yet. And I'm going to show one of the pictures of them. And if you can read it, you can see the photograph and everything. It says Myrtle Beach 2006. And I want to just show them, and this is how I guess they mourn the death of my daughter. Can you see it?
Oh, let it clear up a little bit. There you go.
Now, this is them on a poker run in Myrtle Beach. And it was so important for them to be on this poker run than it was that we just buried my daughter and that I had two boys that were going through some hard times because they lost their sister. And one of the things, the day of the fire, the mother and the boyfriend came to my house. They told their side of the story of what happened. They left there and went to a motorcycle shop, paid for motorcycle parts, so that they could go on this trip right here. This trip was more important to them because they already paid their money, some money towards their condo at the beach and everything. So that was more important to them than the loss of our daughter. And after they went and paid for the motorcycle parts and everything, they turned around and they went to the Record Herald and gave another story that morning of the fire. And that was one of the things that puzzled me, because why would you be so in a hurry to give a story if it was an accident? If it was an accidental fire and you woke up in this fire, then, of course, you wouldn't be going and giving a story. Pretty much you would be at home with your family members, crying, of the loss of our daughter. And here's another thing. While they were in Myrtle Beach, there was a photograph that they thought was cute to post on Facebook, or I'm sorry, I'll take that back, MySpace at that time. And one of the pictures is them down in Myrtle Beach. There, I guess there's a restaurant. I don't know the name of the restaurant or whatever. But this is one of the photographs that the boyfriend took while down there in Myrtle Beach. And it says, "I miss prison sex." And he's got this big, I guess that's a condom. I don't know what it is. I've never, went to this restaurant or nothing.
Paper bag there, right?
And then there's also a picture of the mother. And the mother, on her hat, it says that she hasn't changed her underwear in 7 days. So, to me, going out to eat and a poker run and having fun and laughing and joking and stuff, and you just buried your daughter 2 days prior, and she was murdered. Another photo I want to show, this is very important to me, is Kenny had a lot of guns, and I don't understand why he had a lot of guns, but he had a lot of guns in his house. And I asked Vernon Stanford to go and retrieve the guns because I wanted to make sure that none of the guns were prior to the fire. And Vernon had excuses of why he couldn't go get the guns, and I don't understand the excuse because the mother had a felony and also Kenny had a felony. So I don't understand why they couldn't go and remove the guns. But after I brought it up to Vernon and stuff, somehow it got to that side of the family, and he started posting guns for sale. Well, here's 2 of the guns that he sold, and I'm hoping that somebody out there might have bought one of these guns. And if you bought one of these guns, you can keep the gun, but I would like for the gun at least to be looked at, not by the sheriff's office, because obviously they can't do their job. And he also sold a double-barrel shotgun that sold off. He sold a bow, some other things, but those are important to me because he had them guns. And like I said, after I wanted the sheriff's office to collect the guns to see if they were in the house prior to the fire, he removed the guns. Now, there's some other people also that think that this mother is the greatest mother in the world. And by when I say mother, it's very hard for me to say that off my tongue, to call her a mother. And I'm going to show some pictures that I've never showed before. And these are on MySpace. These are family photos of the mother, of her posting of my kids. And one of them here is my son Harrison. And underneath where Harrison's picture is, she writes, and I will show it here, she's right, "Harrison before he became a demon child." That's one way she expresses a picture of my son. On this one here, this is Douglas. This is my youngest son. And that's a photograph of him on her MySpace page. And underneath his, she put Douglas when he was sweet and innocent at one time. On this one right here is a picture of her oldest daughter. And underneath that picture, she posted, she was an angel at one time. And that's how she thinks about her children when she posts pictures on MySpace back then, right after Mackenzie's death. There was no pictures of Mackenzie on there. But that's the reason, one of the reasons why I'm fighting like I am, and to bring justice, and I believe this mother should be arrested. Not only on the death of Mackenzie, but also the other injuries and stuff that happened to my children that they still have the evidence of. And so I'm hoping that we get justice and we push like we are, and I've been pushing. One of the things I want to go over, like I said, is this is the coroner's report that was never filed. And I just want to read one of the statements, and I'm going to explain it to you real quick before we get to the tape. And what it is this is a coroner's report, and this is where Dr. Gay went to the scene, and then he talked to the firemen and nobody else. Right here it says social history, and this is a statement by Joyce Stanforth, and I'm going to read that statement to you guys, and then I'm going to explain that statement to you. That statement says, this is obtained from Joyce Stanforth, who was in charge of the program in the county where witness, victim counseling, social services are provided to people interacting with the legal system. Joyce states that the parents are still married, but living apart. The mother has a boyfriend named Kenny Mossbarger who lives in the home with the descendant's mother. Mary Branham and Donald Branham have 4 children together, and 1 girl who is the descendant, and then 3 boys. The 3 boys live with the father, and Mackenzie has been living with the mother for approximately the past 6 months, up until about 6 months ago. The parents used Joyce Stanforth's office as a drop-off point for Mackenzie whenever she would from staying with one parent to the other. Then approximately 6 months ago, they stated, working things out that they've been acting like adults. As for the most part, Mackenzie had been living with her mother since that point. Joyce Stanforth, Mackenzie had stated that wanted to live with her mother. It is reported that the father hates, and then they put it in parentheses, hates the mother's boyfriend, Mr. Mossbarger. Now, after I read that statement, and I read it about, probably 3 times before it came to me. Probably Mackenzie was telling me to pay attention. But here's my question to Vernon Stanforth. At the time that your wife gave this statement, you put in this statement about my daughter wanting to live with the mother, which I proved that in one of my live feeds about when my daughter went to stay with her mother. Number 2, you put in this, and you made sure it was in parentheses and everything, that I hated Kenneth Mossbarger. Now, my question to Vernon is, why is your wife giving a statement about who I hate, why I don't have my daughter, why me and Marianne have problems, when at the time that you gave this statement, it wasn't even ruled an arson or a homicide yet? And you're already pointing fingers towards me, and it ain't even been ruled an arson or a homicide that early in the morning. A fire marshal hadn't even made it there yet. And you gave a statement. And then you gave a false statement on top of the statement. You said in your statement here that I had 4 children with Marianne, and no, I don't. And I've said this before. You also said 3 boys live with me, and they don't. You only mentioned that Kenny Mossbarger was Marianne's boyfriend, but you never mentioned who I was with. You also never mentioned that you left my house at 5 o'clock that morning, and one of the questions I asked you was Marianne safe, and did she make it? Because my last conversation with the mother was to get back in that house and save my baby. Don't let my baby die. And that conversation has been proven not only by me and the phone call, but also by the sister that was standing beside the phone when I made that comment, to tell her to get in that house and don't let my baby die. And you don't even tell that in none of this statement here. So that asks me a question to myself is, did you know it was already an arson and it was a secretly called in before the firemen and the fire marshal ruled it an arson? So you are already pointing fingers at somebody, because let me put it this way. If it was an accidental fire, it wouldn't matter who I hated or who I didn't hate. It wasn't my house. I wasn't living there. So before they even ruled it, you already were pointing fingers. So that's my question to the sheriff. Why? And then that also explains to me why I believe this was never filed. Is because of that statement and other statements on here that Vernon lied to me about. So, and one of the funniest thing I caught too was Joyce Stanforth wasn't done. It says Joyce Stanforth tells me after her discussion with the mother, and they heard Mackenzie yelling back to them when they were yelling for her. It was reported to me by Vernon Stanford that the reason the mother woke up was because she smelled smoke. Now that's a lie right there, because if you look at the mom and the boyfriend's first statement to the Wrecker Herald the day of the fire, her exact words was they woke up to popping and crackling noises, not smoke. If they smelled smoke, they would have been the same situation my daughter. They would not have came out alive, because they would have died the same way. If that's how my daughter died, they would have died the same way my daughter did. So, and then on top of that, to contradict Vernon Stanford's statement is, to me, he said when he approached Marianna Kinney and told her that my daughter was dead, she didn't smell like smoke. So why are you telling them, a coroner, that my daughter, or the mother, said that she woke up to smoke? Then you also got your wife saying that the mother talked to my daughter, and we all know that was a lie. It sounds like to me you all were trying to prove and hope that this came out as an accident, and you knew it wasn't going to come out as an accident, so you started pointing fingers at people. And you started pointing fingers at people that had an alibi, knew where they were, and you try to protect the guilty ones. That's what I read off of this statement right here made by you. The other thing, too, is I was reading this report, and it says that Dr. Gay examined my daughter at 3:15 in the morning at the hospital. How did you examine my daughter at the hospital at 3:15 when the EMT's report and the hospital report says my daughter didn't arrive until 3:20? So how was you looking at a body that wasn't even there? Then you also said that the child had no medication whatsoever in her system. No supplements, no vitamins, and no over-the-counter drugs. How did you know that when you didn't draw any blood at the hospital? Then the other mistake you made was you went and visited Mackenzie at the hospital instead of visiting Mackenzie where she sat in an ambulance for 1 hour at the crime scene. And by law, in the state of Ohio, a coroner has to go to that scene, pronounce that person dead, and then start collecting his evidence and taking photographs. One, no photographs were ever taken. And number two, I never could understand either, is this was a big fire. This was a huge fire in that small town. And not one news channel, 10, 6, 4, 7, was ever called. There's no photographs. There's no pictures of that fire. There's nothing of that fire. So there's another question I need to ask, is why no one was there. There's no video of this fire. So as I keep digging and digging, this is why I keep doing what I do. And it's because I'm the one now with the unanswered questions. Not only am I looking at my ex-wife, and her boyfriend and her brother, but I'm also looking at the people that I believe tampered and made this the way it is. Now, probably sometime next week, hopefully before then, I'll have more answers that is going to prove why this was a cover-up. And they will be legal documents. But like I said, when you read stuff and it's in black and white and it's legal documents, it answers for itself. And like I said, my daughter had no reason to die the way she died. And the mother wants to call it an accident. She wants to stick to that story. Well, I've talked to the fire marshal more than 100 times. And in that 100 times, he's always stayed with the same story. And that is, this was ruled an arson. And it's not going to change. It's not going to come out as an accident. My job as a parent is to try to prove that this fire was not handled and there was a lot of negligence in this fire by the authorities that should have controlled what was going on. So I'm going to go ahead, and what it is when I first started this, I knocked on some doors. People had moved away. People got divorced now and stuff, so it was hard to, find people around that actually were the ones that were woken up and saw the fire and everything else. And finally, a young gentleman who was I think he was 18 at the time of the fire, who it affected him really bad. What happened to Mackenzie, showed up in one of my protests, told me who he was. His mom come there. She told the story. And I found out that his father was one of them that was the first one to call 911. And they were the first ones awakened for the fire by Mackenzie's mother. And I finally got a hold of that person. I will not give names. But I want everybody to listen to this tape. We talked today, and it was pretty disturbing what he had to say. And it was also in the tape you'll hear where he says, I'm going to have nightmares because that's what has been going on in his life because of this. So I want to go ahead and play this tape. And I'm going to do the same thing as I did the last time. I'll probably stop it and then explain some things about it. So I'm going to go ahead and play it. And let me know that you guys can hear it, please. And that way you guys know what's being said.
This is her father, Donald Branham. I don't know. Mackenzie's the one that died in the house fire, my daughter.
Oh, okay. Now I know who you're talking about.
Can you guys?
I'm the dad. I'm Mackenzie's father.
And you're the one who I need to tell what I know to.
Yes.
Nobody was interested in listening to me. No cops were interested. Nobody was interested.
Right.
One of the first ones awake.
Okay, so right there, I stopped it real quick. I'm hoping you guys can hear it. Can somebody please let me know if you can't hear it? Thank you. What he said was, you're the one I need to tell my story to, because no one wants to hear my side of the story and what I've seen, including cops and everything like that. So I just want everybody to understand that he said not even the cops wanted to hear his story, and he's going to tell more about it.
After the fire started, because they came knocking on my door, because I lived up the hill on the corner where I could see the house down the hill.
Right.
But they came knocking on my door. I was yelling at them because I didn't know what it was about. From upstairs when they woke me up. And as I got dressed and walked past the window, I saw the whole the house on fire. I ran down the stairs. Well, we called 911 immediately as soon as I saw what was going on. I called 911. We went downstairs, and by the time we got downstairs, there was nobody at the door. They had walked away. And we went and stepped out on the front porch, and they were out in the streets. The mother and stepdad were out in the street, wandering around with his dog. And they weren't doing anything, just kind of standing in the street, wandering around. They also sat on our curb out front.
Now, right there, he said they were standing in the street just walking around. And he said that then they came over, the mother did, and sat down on the curb. So I just want everybody to understand that that's what he's saying. That here, when they first came downstairs and he finally come outside, they had walked away. And then they came back and they were standing there in the street just walking around. Now, you got to think about this. My daughter's house is on fire. My daughter's inside that house, and the mother is just walking around, and then goes over and sits down on the curb.
Watching the house go off, burn. And then as soon as the fire department pulls down the street, the mother all of a sudden freaks out, jumps up, starts screaming, "My baby's in the house, my baby's in the house." And all of a sudden started screaming in 10 minutes after the fire had been burning, because they're waiting on the fire department to come up the street. And
now he just said right there that the mother, when she was sitting on the curb, soon as she started hearing the sirens and the fire trucks and stuff, or because it's a volunteer fire department, so like the sirens on people's vehicles and stuff like that, and alarms and stuff going off, she jumped up, and then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, starts to say, "My baby, my baby, my baby." And I just want everybody to understand that part. This is an eyewitness. This is a person that was standing right there on the phone with 911.
I was told I have ladders on my truck. Right. They weren't interested in any ladders. The guy across the street had offered him a ladder previous to me, and he said no, he didn't need a ladder. And then with these...
Now right there he's talking about ladders. This guy was I think he was a construction worker or something. And he had a truck that sat right in front of the house there, and it had 4 ladders on it. And he offered them ladders to Kenny, to the boyfriend that is a volunteer fireman. Offered him ladders to go down there, and he refused. And then he said a neighbor even came with a ladder, and Kenny told him no, that they didn't want the ladders.
It was... All the officers just put a ladder against the back part of the house and climb up on the roof and break that window, and that's forbidden.
Right.
So you can take it the way you want to, but that seems to me really weird.
Now, there was a coroner's report that was never filed, and I found it. I've been doing a lot of research on my daughter's case and stuff of what happened that night. And do you remember anything being in front of the house?
No, I do remember something about he had to go down and move his trucks out of the driveway or something. But I don't recall anything sitting in the road in front of the house.
He had to go move his truck out of the driveway?
Yeah.
So now by hearing that part, he said that I didn't tell him what I was looking for. I just asked him if there was anything in front of the house. And he said that Kenny had told him that he had to go down and move his truck. So now, that might be why the truck was sitting in the middle of the road when the fire department got there, and why the doors were open. But if he was in the truck, and her phone was in the truck, which was proven by the fire marshal, that her phone was inside the truck on the seat, why in the world is you in that truck, moving that truck? That truck, and I hate to say this, but if y'all ever saw the truck, I wish I had a picture of the truck. Maybe one day I'll find one. This truck was red, and it was rusted, and I mean, it was a piece of junk. $800 maybe. Here is my daughter in the house, and he was more concerned about moving a pickup truck. But here's the thing about the truck. You move the truck, but then you leave a car, and you leave a semi right beside it, filled with diesel fuel in both tanks, that if that would explode, it would have probably took the whole house off the block. But you're going to move an $800 pickup truck, but you're going to leave my daughter in a house, and you're a fireman. You rather save I want to cuss, a $800 truck than my own little baby girl. You ain't no fucking hero to me. You'll never be a hero to me. So, right there shows that might be why that truck was sitting in the middle of the road. So that shows that they didn't come to that fire. They were there, but they weren't inside that house neither. And it's going to get better.
Did he say why or anything?
No. Well, it was because he he wanted to catch fire because, like I said, the whole front of the house is on fire. It wasn't. It was when I saw the starting fire. It had the lower front porch was on fire, and it was starting to lap around the porch to go up to the upper level.
Mm-hmm.
And it may have been in the stairs going inside because you can't see it from where I'm at, so I don't know what was inside. What I could say is what I could see from outside.
Right.
I remember it like it was yesterday to me. It was the most horrific thing me or my kid been through.
Right.
He used to play with Mackenzie out the street.
Right.
So
now what?
Okay, now I'm gonna stop it there. He said that he didn't want the truck to catch on fire. And that's what he said. Now I'm going to show you the photographs again. This is the front of that house. Right here. This is the front of that house. Okay, and right here where the maroon car is, there's a maroon car right there in the driveway. The truck sat on this side closest to the fire is where that red pickup truck was. And this is the front of that house. That's what I'm saying. This is the front of the house. Now, he risked his life as a fireman to go remove a pickup truck that he didn't want to catch fire. And he's that close to that flames and that fire right there. That's how close he was. But he couldn't go. He said in his statement that the smoke and the fire, he couldn't save my daughter. He couldn't get to my daughter. He couldn't save my baby. But in this photo, which I'm going to show, these photos here are the back of the house. This is the back of the house. No fire. No fire at all. The siding's still on the house, everything. Now that's the back of the house. That's the front of the house. He goes down and removes, he wants to go down and save his $800 piece of shit truck. And that's what he wants to do. And he gets that close to the flames and everything where the whole front of the house is on fire to move an $800 truck. But he can't go to the back of the house because he said the smoke and the flames wouldn't let him get in there to get my daughter. And the back of the house is hardly touched by any fire. This is the back of the house right here. Now, he was offered ladders to go save my daughter. And this is where my daughter's bedroom window is. And you can see that siding, nothing wrong with that siding. And her bed sat right underneath that window. So I don't see where there was any flames, any smoke, anything. But I do see a lot of fire and smoke from the damages of the front of the house. And you can't go and save my daughter, but you're going to save an $800 piece of shit truck. So I just want everybody to see that.
Do you remember what they were wearing?
He had some kind of shoes, pants, and a big long black jacket, kind of like a trench coat. I don't.
Now, right there, this witness said he had no shoes on, pair of jeans, and a long black trench coat. Now, I'm no expert. I'm no, scientist, anything like that. But if I'm in bed and I'm waking up to a fire, let's give a little bit there. I might grab a pair of pants if I'm naked because I don't want to be out running around naked. But if I was in boxer shorts or underwear or something like that, it wouldn't have mattered to me. My daughter would have mattered. So, but I'll give him that credit that he grabbed a pair of pants and put on a pair of pants if he was waking up to the fire. But why would you grab a trench coat? Why would you grab a coat at 50-something degrees outside that night? And you already know it's hot because of the flames and the fire. You're going to take time to find a long black trench coat. And it just don't make no sense to me.
She had on, as far as, but she seemed dressed.
she was dressed.
As far as I can remember.
Yeah, because she said that Kenny was in his underwear only.
She had pants on.
Yeah.
He didn't have a shirt on.
Right.
But I'm almost positive he had pants on. I would have noticed that tighty whities because he kept his jacket was a long trench coat type of jacket, and so it was open all the time. He didn't have it buttoned up.
Right. But they didn't show no action, towards that, my daughter was in there.
I didn't realize that she had anybody in the, because I didn't know who everybody was in the neighborhood. I didn't know there was a kid in the house until after the fire department showed up. And I was the first one to call the fire department. So from the time I called the fire department, I was the first one. From the time I called the fire department to the time they showed up, the two of them wandered around in the middle of the street out in front of my house and sat down on the curb in front of my house and never said a word about any kids.
Right.
Or anybody or anything in the house.
Now, right there, he just said he was the first one to call 911, first family that was awakened, and he said they were just standing around, wandering around in the street, just standing there. Never, no screaming, no crying, no nothing, and sat down on the curb and never said a word. Never told them that their daughter was in that house. Nothing. Zero. Never said a word that her child was in that house.
Right.
That's when she lost it. Then she just break out, lost it. Like the whole world had ended immediately.
Right.
Before then, it was weird. They were just, acting like, oh my God, the house is breaking up. We get out. We're going to stand here.
And the dog was with them?
Yep. And there was a big dark dog with him.
Now, I asked him if the dog was with him, and he said yes, the dog was with him. So not only did he tried to save an $800 piece of junk truck, but also he saved the dog. And so now we got an $800 piece of junk truck. We got a dog. And my daughter's still in the house. And they don't mention nothing about my daughter being in that house, burning. And my question, and I know there's a lot of moms watching this, and my question is, how can a mother sit, excuse my language, mother, it slips off my tongue. How can a person sit on a curb and watch a house burning and knowing your daughter's in there? And you just said, quote, quote, you just talked to her. So let's give them the female, the sperm donor, I'm the sperm donor, sorry.
Egg donor.
The egg donor, a benefit of the doubt that she really did talk to Mackenzie. Mackenzie was awake. So here's my daughter. Let's just picture this. If my daughter was awake and my daughter's at a window and she's screaming and she's crying and she's yelling for mommy and daddy, and you're going to sit on a curb and you're going to watch that fire. And then when the fire department shows up, because that's in the coroner's report, by then you're on the porch standing and you're still watching it. And then you still wait 15, 20 minutes to even tell the firemen that your daughter's in the house. How? How can you just sit there knowing, and if your story was true, that you talked to my daughter and you knew my daughter was awake and you knew that baby was trying to find a way out of the house? How can you sit on a curb and watch and not say a word?
Yep.
Yeah, black. Yeah. I couldn't be honest with you. They don't tell if it was dark brown or black, but he's black, yeah.
And now when did the investigators, did they talk to you that night?
Who?
The cops.
Never. They have never talked to me. I even called them, and they said they have somebody get back to me.
you never talked to nobody?
I never talked to any police officers.
Wow.
They didn't question me about nothing. The only person that asked me anything about it is the news.
Now, right there, he just stated again. He said no one ever talked to him. Ever questioned him, never went to him. And the bad part about it is, and I'm going to show this evidence real quick. Well, let's see. It'd probably be better to get hers. This right here is the sheriff's report, and of that night of the fire. And right here, I'm going to cover the name up. I hate to do this, but I don't want anybody to know. But right here,
One of the papers on the top of it, like right there.
right here is that person on the sheriff report. That's them. So they had a name of who made the 911 call. They had the name of the 911 caller, and never ever, still today going on 12 years, have never asked this guy any questions, or his wife, or his kid. Any questions about that fire.
Her address was what, 7?
Her address was 7 Walnut Street, and this was 3 Maple Street, which was the corner. And they had it. They had his information, his phone number, his address, and his name. And he's under person information, is what they got him listed under. And they never contacted him. Still haven't today in 11 years.
One of the Columbus News,
Okay.
like standing in front of my van, giving an interview to the news about what had happened. And I never saw one investigator, no policeman, no sheriffs, nobody.
Wow. And see,
I understand that his cousin, his uncle, is one of the sheriffs in Chesterfield.
yeah.
And so I tried to talk to other sheriffs, but he's the one who investigated it.
Right there, he said that one of the sheriff deputies was his he thought was his cousin. He's actually his brother-in-law. But he right there stated, and he said that he even tried to talk to him, and it wouldn't even talk to him, and he was one of the investigators on this case. And I tried to tell everybody that should have never happened. No deputy related to the suspects of a crime should be allowed to investigate that crime. And right there, a witness said that his cousin or family member related to the boyfriend was one of the investigators, and he wouldn't even talk to him. And it goes on.
See, I only heard stuff secondhand.
Right.
Like you said, they never came and asked me a damn thing. And I'm the one who called 911.
Yeah, and see,
one of the first people who saw the fire.
yeah. And see, your name, that's how I got your name, was you're on the sheriff report. Patrick McNeil.
Yeah.
And I asked people around, I was like, anybody know who this Patrick McNeil is? Well, then I held a protest at the sheriff's office. And when I was holding that protest, your son and your wife came to me. And they're like, I'm the one that lived in the greenhouse. And my husband is the one that called 911 that night. And I said, are you kidding me? And she's like, no. We were standing outside. We saw from the time the porch was on fire and everything. And I said, wow. I said, have you ever spoke to anybody? She said, never. No one's ever questioned us about anything.
Right? Just like I said. You know, it's the truth. Nobody ever did. Nobody. I even called them to say, don't you want a statement from me? I'm a witness at least after the fact.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they labeled it arson.
Right.
You think there'd have been a freaking investigation about it.
Right.
But I know that parked on my corner.
Right, the ambulance. Right.
What's that? Yeah, the ambulance parked up the corner, and the fire chief ran down to the house, or he parked at the house. I don't know where his truck was. All I know is that he was there for just a couple of minutes, and he kept carrying Mackenzie out of the house. And supposedly, that man, from what I heard, now this part is speculation, I heard that he was a volunteer fire department, the volunteer fireman. He said that.
Oh, the boyfriend?
Yeah, his boyfriend was a
Yeah, he was a 12-year volunteer fireman.
and he didn't want a ladder. All he had to do was put it against the back of the house and climb up it.
Right.
Bust out that window, and that was her bedroom.
Now, did they look like I know this is hard to remember, 11 years ago, but did they have like any, like soot on them, smoke on them?
I couldn't tell you. I didn't get close enough to them.
Right.
To smell them, and it was too dark to see.
Right.
Because this was, in the middle of the night.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
was too dark. That's why, unless the man was naked, completely naked, he had pants on.
Right.
It was pants were the color of wood, the color of skin they almost looked like it was naked, but it wasn't. It was pants.
Right.
It had something on it.
And
He didn't have any shoes on.
right.
That much I remember. He didn't have shoes on. And maybe the color of his pants was blue jeans. Maybe he just had blue jeans on.
Okay.
And no, I'm thinking like tan colored corduroy or something, but maybe that wasn't it. Maybe he did have blue jeans on.
And a black trench coat.
What's that?
And a black trench coat.
Yeah, a black. Yeah, one of those old long coats.
Right.
That's
Now,
what it looked like for me. Kind of like my duster without all the frills.
right. So he told you no, he didn't need a ladder, and you had a ladders on your truck.
Right. I had ladders on my truck offering. He wasn't, no ladders. They didn't need ladders.
Okay.
I know for sure the guy, or even I heard from the guy across the street that he didn't need a ladder because he already offered him a ladder and he wasn't interested in a ladder.
Right. And you're not the only one. That's 3 people that's told me that, well, where Jamie, I guess Knox is what their names was, that lived right next door to you, they said they offered him a ladder and he said no. Then the ones across the street where the mother went and stood on the porch and watched the fire, they offered him a ladder and even offered to go down there and help, and he stopped them and told them no.
Oh, really? See, now that part I didn't know about.
So you're not the only one that he refused a ladder from.
Well, I don't know, how they let them leave county and just beyond me.
Yeah, they're gone. They're in Tip City, Ohio.
I also heard a rumor of there was a little 16-year-old girl that was working at Betty's Market, and
Yeah, about the.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, that's about the tattoo.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll drop. Okay.
Yeah, it's like I said, my biggest thing I'm working on right now is I don't understand why they didn't talk to witnesses at the fire. I don't understand why they didn't talk to witnesses after the fire. People that were standing there, people that saw them, people saw what they were doing. I just don't understand why they didn't do any of that. I mean, how are you supposed to solve a case if you're not talking to the people that were there first?
Well, I don't know why they didn't, and it was always baffled me why they wouldn't be interested in hearing what I had to say, considering the amount of stuff I saw.
Right.
For sure, I'd be one of the first people they come talk to, but they didn't. And like you said, it's been 11 years now, and I don't know. I wish you a lot of luck getting things everything solved. But
now, one of the things he sat right there and said, he said it's been 11 years, and that's true. It's been 11 years going on 12. And a lot of people don't remember everything, details of that fire, but they did in the night of the fire. And that's what kills me the most. And you got a sheriff sitting up here in this office, and he's telling people this is a #1 priority and that they're working on it every day. They're liars. They're friggin' liars, and they don't want to admit it, but they're liars. And I'm going to tell you right now, how in the world is people that were there that night I can contact, I can talk to, they're coming to me, they're telling me what they saw, what they seen, what they heard, and then the last thing they're sitting there saying to me is, no one's ever talked to me. How are you supposed to solve a murder if you don't even talk to anybody around the fire? No one took the time. But I have a photograph of the leading detective and the sergeant that's related to the boyfriend standing at a pickup truck at the fire, leaning against the truck, chit-chatting. Instead of being over there chit-chatting underneath a tree, why ain't you asking and talking to the neighbors that seen everything? There's not one single report where they talk to any of the witnesses of 4 houses that surrounded that fire. Not one. Explain that to me, Vernon. How are you working a case? And then on top of that, how do you give a case to another detective? And that detective, where is he going to start? He has no witnesses. He has nothing. You're going to sit there and wait another couple months, maybe longer, for an exhume to see if there's something in there. And if there's not, then where do you go with this? Where? Where are we going to go with this? I'll tell you where we're going to go with it. I'm going to, and so is this community, we are going to make sure that they are charged with the arson. The arson is what's important. The arson shows exactly what happened that night. And also, my baby's body shows exactly what happened to her that night. And I don't care who you are. I don't give a rat's ass if you want to be one of these Christians that say, well, people mourn differently or whatever. Bullshit. Ain't no mother sits on a curb. Ain't no mother stands on a porch and watches their baby burn up in a house and saves their own ass. It don't happen, never will happen, unless you're the guilty party yourself. Bottom line. And I'm going to tell you right now, they barked up the wrong tree. I'm glad that people are coming to me. I'm glad I'm getting to talk to people now, and I'm starting to put the picture together what really happened that night. And I can tell you one thing. Watch out, Tip City, Ohio, because here I come. People need to know exactly what she is and what she's all about. And I'm going to protest live at the VFW and at her house. I'm going to put it on live video. I promise you all this. And we're going to get to the questions and the answers that we deserve. And I'm going to tell you right now, nobody deserves justice more than my baby girl, Mackenzie. This happened to her, and for that sheriff's office to sit there and not do their job properly and tell me that back then they didn't do this and back then, bullshit. In 1800s, they were taking photographs. How the hell you think Jesse James' photograph got taken when he got shot? Bullshit. Don't lie to me no more. We're tired of the lies. I'm coming strong, I'm coming hard, and we're going to solve this. I guarantee you I will solve my daughter's death, and I will make sure that the people that are accountable for this go to jail, including the people that's involved in the cover-up of my daughter. I don't give a rat's ass what anybody says anymore. I don't care. You can get on any pages and run your mouth all about me. I don't give a rat's ass. You know what? You want to be that type of a person, come to my face and say it to my face. But I'm going to tell you what, you won't. You'll hide behind your shadows, and you'll call the police when I'm knocking on your door. You're a coward, and everybody else is a coward. I'm telling you right now, I'm pissed. And now that I'm pissed, I'm coming harder than you ever seen before. Ever. Next time I sit down in a chair, you better not fucking lie to me, because the lies are done. They're over with. Witnesses have no reason to lie. These people didn't know them, had no reason to lie. And you negligently did not talk to anybody at that fire. You didn't do your job right. You didn't take photographs. You destroyed clothes. You got evidence missing. You got paperwork missing. And it's your fault. You dropped the ball on my little girl. And you can't be a man enough to admit that you dropped the ball. Instead, you want to lie and blame people that are dead and everything else. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And I'm done with it. So I'm going to let everybody finish there. I just had to rant a little bit.
See that there was not something that they just weren't interested in helping her. That's why I call it.
Right.
Now, for whatever reason that was, I don't know.
Now, if I give your name to, and I would call you first, because I don't let anybody talk now with the stuff that's been going on. I don't let any witnesses talk to anybody except for if I give a name. You know what I'm saying? Because the only person I trust in this whole entire thing is the fire marshal. And, you know, he went in and did his job, which was to determine what kind of fire it was, which it was rolling arson. And then it was up to our sheriff's office to handle the investigation of the death of Mackenzie. And that wasn't done. So, and I know I've already found out, I know that my daughter sat in that ambulance almost an hour before they even took her to the hospital.
She was, from what I understood, she was dead at the scene.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's what I understood. That's why they didn't go so fast. They were.
Now,
I don't know what
do you remember who was at the back of the ambulance? Because I was told that the deputy that's related to the boyfriend, that's Mike Stiegels, the one you talked about. He was at the back of the ambulance.
I don't know.
Okay.
The ambulance pulled up, what is it, 3rd Street or whatever that's my street.
Right.
The front of the ambulance was facing our house.
Okay.
So I never saw what was happening at the back of the ambulance.
Okay. That's fine.
I see that. You tell the truth. You know,
There was another lady
said anything, but he didn't know.
that didn't talk to the sheriff's department that lived across the street from me to the right, 2 houses. And she knew a lot of information about it too, but I don't know who she was. I don't remember what her name was, or I don't even know what she looked like now.
Right.
But I do know that she knew more information about the whole thing than I did.
Is that where you're talking about the house right, like on the corner there?
Well, not the corner house, but the one next to the corner house. And it would actually, their backyard would match up with the house's backyard, the firehouse.
Oh, you're talking about John.
Okay, I'm not going to play that part because there's a name in that. And I don't, just for the confidentiality of them. Is that fast forward there?
Yeah, fast forward.
As far as I know, I left a message with him, or because I got the card from somebody else or something. But like I said, the only people that interviewed me was the news.
Okay.
There was I don't remember what channel it was. It was on
Probably Channel 10. Channel 10 was the one following the whole story in the beginning.
Yeah, I think it was 10.
But it's obvious, like I said, I mean, her actions and his actions is not actions of their house is on fire, you know, and their child's in, my daughter's in there, you know what I'm saying? You would think.
If my kid was in her house and the house was on fire, I'm dying getting him out, or I'm getting him out.
Right.
One or the other.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not letting it happen. And certainly not 10 minutes, at least 10 to 15 minutes after the fire started, when I'm all of a sudden going to be interested in getting the kid out. That doesn't make sense to me.
Right. So in other words,
put it on for a show.
Right. So in other words,
Right there, he just said the way he acted, the way that the mother and the boyfriend acted was like a show. That they waited 12 to 15 minutes, which is almost the exact same time of the coroner, and waited 15 minutes to tell them that their child was in the house. And he said, then it was like a show. She got up, then it was my baby, my baby. But in all that time that she ran around knocking on doors, or walked around knocking on doors, she never mentioned her child. And that's the other part. There's another person that I spoke to. Actually, their daughter was on one of my live feeds one night and said that, you know, my dad wanted to use a ladder and he wouldn't let him. And that was where Marianne went. And when she went there, instead of saying that her daughter was in the house, this person, she asked for a pair of shoes. And the woman got her a pair of shoes. Then the shoes didn't fit her, so Marianne got mad. So the woman went back in and got her another pair of shoes. And I think, if I'm right, it was flip-flops. And then Marianne put the flip-flops on. Never mentioned that Mackenzie was in that house. So now, all these witnesses, and I've even spoke to that person, and that person said the same thing. Not one cop, not one investigator, nobody has ever spoke to them, has never asked them any questions about that night. And I know the people that lived right across the street where the mother made a phone call. We know that her first phone call was to Florida to her sister. I don't know how in the world. I guess she was going to fly in quicker than they put out the fire. But that was one of her phone calls. That lady even stated to me and my attorney when we were going around trying to find people the night of the fire that Kenny was in the house changing his clothes. And never asked for those clothes, never asked for anything, never did any phone record checks, nothing. No photographs of Kenny's injuries, nothing. Not taking the computer out of the house and sending it off to see what they were doing that night on the computer. They never questioned the brother that admitted being there until midnight. Nothing. Nothing has been done. And you as the sheriff are going to sit here and tell this community over and over and over and lie to them that this is a number one priority and that you're working on this investigation. Buddy, I'd like to know how in the hell you're working on this investigation. I don't know if you're going down the street to Kroger's and buying a bunch of Cracker Jack boxes and opening it up and pulling out the prize and ripping it open, hoping that the answer's in there. I don't know. But this is not how you investigate a crime. And I'm going to tell you right now, our town is no different than it. You make our town look stupid when you sit there and you say, first of all, the clothes ain't relevant. Oh, but wait a minute, I might have wanted to see the clothes. The ladder, I don't know what happened to the ladder. 10-foot ladder, gone. Wooden ladder, gone. No one knows where it went. Probably to a wood chipper. I'd rather you say that. I'd rather you tell me the truth that, hey, we screwed up. This is why we screwed up. We should have done. You know, I've looked all the way back and to the 9/11 incident in New York, and the laws have changed on how they handle a fire. All fires are considered arson first, then accidental. And you did not do this way. And in about a few more days, the community is going to know about that part of why you treated it as an accident and not an arson. And when I show that proof, it's going to show that you did not do your job. You're better off to come out to this community, apologize to this community, and apologize to me for lying. For telling me you're doing one thing when I'm finding out you ain't done nothing. And I have proven it. I'm proving it every day that something surfaces that you are not working on this case the way you're supposed to work on this case. And it's sad that you're worried more about marijuana in this fucking town, who's smoking a joint, than you are who murdered an 8-year-old child. And that makes me concerned as you as my sheriff that you are more worried about drugs because of money, grants, than you are who murdered an 8-year-old child that could possibly murder somebody else's child. You know, they say a mistake has to happen to learn from it. I've shown many mistakes on my daughter's case, but I have not yet seen anybody learn from it. The only people I see learning from it is the community. And I'm telling you, this community is tired of it. We're tired of the children's services sitting over there on their lazy asses, not doing their job. We're sick of the law enforcement around here just harassing people instead of doing their job. Well, I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it, and I'm tired of it. And I'm coming strong. And your little threats and the stuff that I've already had witnesses saying that there's a death threat on me and a hit on my head and everything, I could care less. I really can care less. Because let me tell you something. I've got two sides of me and two sides of my world. I have my world with my kids today that I love dearly and would do anything for. And I guarantee I wouldn't let one of my children die. Guarantee you that. My other world on this side of me wants to be with my daughter. I miss her every day. I miss holding her. I miss the opportunity when I see other kids graduate, or I get on my Facebook page and I see where mothers and fathers post their daughters in their prom dresses. I miss out on all that stuff. I missed out on all of it. And the sad part about it, and I'm going to say this is the God's honest truth, Vernon Stanport. If it was one of your kids, this case would have been done and over with a month, maybe even less than a month after that fire started. But because it's not your child and it's my child, we're going to piss ass around this and protect the politicians of this. First of all, this is not going to be a political card. It will never be played as a political card. And I'm going to tell you, just like I told that little man sitting up there with the little glasses on his face thinking he's king shit, Mike DeWine, he can kiss my ass too. Because let me tell you something, when you refuse my phone calls and you don't talk to me, tells me you're hiding something. Just like the sheriff's office. Certain people want to sit there and say, well, we can't speak to you. We can't talk to you, Mr. Branham. You know, I'm sick of that. I'm sick of that's the problem with this town, is somebody's always worried about stepping on somebody's toe than to do something that's right. Let me tell you what's right. What's right is justice for Mackenzie. That little girl went to bed doing nothing but thinking that she was going to go to bed and go to sleep, get up and go to school and have a fun day with her friends and family and everything else. Instead, she was murdered and she was burned and she was set on fire. And you don't give a rat's ass about that? Tells me you don't care about none of this community and you don't care about the kids in this community. That's the God's honest truth. And I'm going to tell you right now, I wish to God I had the credentials and the driver license and everything else, because I damn sure would run against you. And I would make sure that this shit stops right now. You know, everybody, you got all these agencies that they don't want to support what happened to that baby, and that's wrong. That is so wrong that people can't come out and tell their true feelings about what happened to Mackenzie because they're afraid that they're stepping on somebody's toes and they're going to lose the job. That's bullshit. Bullshit. You know, you better read your amendments, and in the First Amendment, if I'm right, it says freedom of speech. You should be able to speak your mind and tell exactly what you want to say without worrying about somebody going to fire you or you're not going to have a job no more. That's what's wrong. That's what's wrong with children's services over there. That's why they don't want to get up and go do their job, because they might have to remove a child from somebody that's important in this town. Well, let me tell you, you ain't that damn important if you're doing something to a child. You should be in jail where everybody else goes when they do something to a child. The bad part about it is this mother and this boyfriend tortured my kids. Tortured. And I will use that word. Tortured my children. They were hurt. They were molested. They were murdered. And you should have protected my baby. That was your job. Instead, you wanted to come to my house and knock on my door and make sure I had food in my cabinets because I had custody of 3 kids. You wanted to make sure my smoke detectors worked, but you went to another house and that house had no smoke detectors in it. Didn't have not one smoke detector in it, and you passed it. You passed it and said it was a approved house. But my daughter died. Maybe that smoke detector might have saved my daughter's life. We'll never know. Maybe if the coroner would have done his job in the beginning, went to the crime scene, maybe this would be over with too. Someone made phone calls. Somebody talked to somebody, and somebody hid this. And I'm proving it every day. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a man of my words. I will go down with my last breath because that's what my baby girl would want me to do. My daughter came to me in a vision and told me, protect the children of Fayette County, Dad. Protect the children of Fayette County. Because one thing about my daughter is she was a happy person. She loved everybody. She smiled all the time. But on the other side of her, she was crying for help, and you all let her down. You all failed my daughter. You all did. And if you would have been doing your job in the beginning of this, my daughter would have never been in that house with that person. So I'm going to play the rest of the tape. I think there's a few more. Like I said, I get upset about this because and any parent would get upset. And that's what people got to understand. You got to put yourself in my shoes. My shoes. You know, I hear people all the time saying, you know, I got problems. I got problems. I hate to say this. and I'm not saying it in a rude way, but man, I would switch shoes with anybody, anytime. I would take your shoes and put them on my feet and give you my shoes for one day. And I'm going to tell you right now, the community and the people that follow my stories and everything are what keeps me strong and keeps me going. Now that my kids are back in school, I got a lot more time on my hands now. And my job, and you know, people sit there and say, well, he don't work and all that. You know what? My wife has a good job. My wife takes care of this family. And there's nothing wrong with that. She gives me the time to stop what's going on in this community. My wife grew up here. My wife was born here. My wife was raised here. And my wife's lived here all her life. I haven't. And she's proud of that. I'm out here doing what I'm doing to make changes in this community. Because everybody has to realize one thing. Our children are our future. Our children are the ones that's got to make the decisions in the years to come. And why make it so hard for them? You know, I just heard the other day where people were talking about how their kids are graduating with a 4.0 average. Very smart, very intelligent kids. Good teachers teaching them and everything. And the kids can't even get a job in this community. They can't even get a job. And the funny part about it is everybody sees this on Facebook and you read it over and over and over and over. But then when it comes November, you walk right into that room and you get in that booth and you mark all the way down there, all those blank spaces, and you vote for those people in there. You already know those people ain't going to make changes. And I'm going to tell you, for this community to get better and for this community to have the things that we need in this community to make it safer for our children. Because, you know, I'm 47 years old, and one thing I miss the most is my kids being able to go outside and play until dark and not worry about if somebody's going to drive by and give them drugs or drive by and kidnap them. Or, you know, neighbors used to go, you know, there was nothing growing up and going next door and say, hey, can I borrow a cup of sugar? You know, and that person gave it. Now you go and borrow a cup of sugar as hell. You don't even know if you're getting sugar or if you're getting cocaine. It's so stupid. And the way that this town wastes so much money. And I sit there and I've got teenagers and I've got one that has trouble right now and problems. And I'm still with them. I still stand behind my son 100%. And I try to show him the right way. But then when you live in a community where there's nothing to really show them, it's sad. It's very sad. But like I said, the main thing is there's a lot of children that went to school with my daughter that lost a friend, lost a sister. And if you ever saw the video and you ever watched the video, Alyssa Lives, it's pretty much the story of my daughter. And it tells you, like I said, my daughter would come and see me and say, Daddy, let me get some quarters from you. And I've got a friend at school that ain't eating lunch. And that's what started me with the stuff that I do when I was doing the No Child Goes Hungry in Fayette County. You know, if you honestly sit back and you think about it, we waste a lot of money. We do. We throw money out the window all the time when you know that there's a family down the street and they're hungry or the kids don't have clothes or whatever. And it's sad that my little girl was taken so early, and that's what she did. She would come to me and say, Dad, do you care if I give a couple outfits to a friend of mine? You know, she's wearing the same clothes every day. And I'm like, go ahead, you know. And then for a child that would give up 50 cents for a kid to eat lunch or give her shirt off her back to a child that didn't have a shirt to wear to school, that dies the way she dies, and then you for 11 years just let this go, and you just say, oh, well, you know, it's just another murder, you know, it just eats me alive. And if I don't do what I'm doing, and I don't show the community what's really going on, we'll never change anything in this town. And I can tell you right now, Mackenzie would have been she was a straight A student. She liked it. I was showing some friends here that she loved writing poems, and she loved everything about family. And one of her poems that she wrote, and this is something that was great. You know, I did get custody of my kids, and that was the wonderful thing about it was you know, instead of me thinking about, oh, I'm free, I ain't got no kids, and I can go out and to the bars, or I can go out and do whatever I want to do. Instead, I went after and I fought for my children, and I got custody of my kids. And the reason I got custody of my kids was because I didn't want to miss this stuff. This is stuff that my daughter did in all her years in school, and right here, you know, Halloween's coming up, and she did a pumpkin, you know, and made a pumpkin, and I get to enjoy this stuff as a father, and one time I was a father and a mother, and I get to enjoy the stuff. My daughter made me a card when I worked at Bob Evans, and you know, for her to sit there, and it's nice to open up and say, you know, Bob Evans down on the farm, that old saying, you know, and it's got her signature on it, and she wrote this thing here, and one of her biggest thing with my daughter, and that's what kills me the most of how they're handling my daughter's case, is one of her biggest thing was family. My daughter always believed in family. And this is one of her things that she did, and this is my family album. And it's funny because after all these years, she still has a photograph, one of the photographs, and it's all her brothers and sisters and the time when me and her mom was together. And I want to read a little bit of it, if you don't care for me to read some stuff about her. And it says, me and my family. She said, this is a picture about me and my family. It has my two sisters, Amanda and Jennifer, and me. It also has my dad with my brother sitting on his lap. When we were getting our picture taken, his name is Harrison. Then I'm laying just a little bit of my head on my dad's shoulder. Amanda is right above me. She's kind of close to my dad. My dad's name is Rick. He is the one in the blue shirt. My mom, and this is what it gets to me. She says, my mom, Mary Ann Potter, is holding my brother. Douglas, he's 6 months old in this picture. He's older now. My mom, I think, is 30 years old. I don't know. Amanda is 9 years old in here, and now she's 16. She wouldn't wear her glasses in this picture because she thought people would make fun of her. If they saw her with glasses on, I would tell you that she was pretty. I still have the dress that I got on in this picture. Jennifer is 5 in this picture. She's in the back with Amanda. I'm 3 years old. Harrison is 1 in this picture. This is my baby brother. He was in a picture taken. He's 9 months old, now in his tiger outfit. They have him looking up at the toys they got while we are getting his picture. He was playing with the palm tree. We were going to lay him down, but he started crying, so we sat him up, and now he knows how to crawl. This is one of my daughters, like I said, her family album, and a poem or story that she told at the school. And like I said, it's nice to go back and read a lot of this stuff and see what, you know, she was doing and what she was going to become. And she loved to draw like me. She always told me she loved to draw. And she always drew pictures, and always in her pictures, she always had a picture of me and her doing something together. And she always drew pictures of her brothers and sisters and everything. And right here is one of my favorite ones, and it's Mackenzie Taylor Branham. If Santa's elves went on strike, what would we have? We would not have any toys at all. That would be really sad. Well, we will not have Christmas. He will not have any workers. Santa will be all alone, and then they will make us some toys. And that's one of my favorite ones of Mackenzie talking about Santa Claus and his elves going on strike. And I just wanted to share some of her stories with you guys. Mackenzie, on Christmas, I opened presents and sitting here listening to Christmas music with my dad, watching the tree, decorating the Christmas tree, and then I eat some food. And this is her letter, 12/9/04, 2 years before she was murdered. Dear Santa Claus, Santa, I have been very nice this year. My brother's not. He's been bad. Playing with, playing with, so I am playing with him. And then I help my other brother get dressed and help my dad get them off to school. Helping him getting up in the morning to go to school. That was a letter that she wrote to Santa Claus, and she put, sincerely, Mackenzie, love Mackenzie. And that's what I said. I get to enjoy these things and see what my daughter was about and stuff. And for people to sit there and think that this arson and this homicide didn't matter, it does. And it matters not only to me, it matters to her school teachers, her school friends that played with her, other parents that have gone through the same thing that I've gone through, that miss a loved child that passed early. And so it affects a lot of people. And I'm hoping, like I said, we can make changes in this town and everything. And like I said, right here was one of the proofs with a gentleman, and in the tape, I think there's still a little more. He even says that, he's the nightmares and stuff. So, even him, it affects. And this guy don't even live here anymore. He lives in another state. And it was nice that his son came to me and said, you need to speak to my dad and let my dad tell you what he saw that night and stuff. And it was very interesting that 11 years have gone by and he's never had a phone call, and he's left his phone number and talked to to somebody at the sheriff's office and left messages to contact him and everything else. And still 11 years, as you can tell with the tape, it bothers him. Even in the tape, he even says, I'd have gave my life. I'd have died with my child. And I think any normal parent would have died with Mackenzie. But I always try, and I don't know why I do it, but I always try to give the mother the benefit of why maybe she could not have saved Mackenzie. But it's kind of hard when you hear that she waited so long to tell somebody that my child was in there. And the more and more I think about it, it shows that she knew what was happening, and she knew what was going to happen. I hope her vacation to Myrtle Beach was well worth it. Like I said, she's got her friends that, attack me and her family, and they want to bring up about my money and all that stuff. But I can guarantee you one thing. I moved here in 1995, and I have never left this town. And me and my wife have never been on a honeymoon, anything. When I met my wife, my daughter was murdered 3 months after we met. And then we didn't get married until 2011. And I have been doing nothing but working on Mackenzie's case. And so for all this money, I guess I supposedly have, and everything, I don't know how, my life is so wonderful. But I can guarantee you one thing. I don't go to Florida to Walt Disney World 3 times a year. I don't go to Myrtle Beach. Never even seen Myrtle Beach. Don't even know what it looks like. And I'm even from Florida, and I have a sister in Florida, and I've never even gone and visit her in Florida. So, the money, you can say what you want to say. These people don't know the truth. Friends of mine did the t-shirt things. They made the t-shirts. They did that out of their heart. They gave me a little money off of the t-shirts. That's to help. Cause I have to pay, no matter what, we have to pay for documents and get stuff, it costs. And I'm the one that did the headbands. And like I said, I don't have to, but if somebody wants to see it, I have it. I have the receipt where I paid through PayPal. I paid the 2 young ladies that took the time and their heart and soul and made the headbands that I'm selling. And honestly, it's no different than if I go to yard sale and I buy 50 t-shirts and then I sell them for what I want to sell them for. I never thought the IRS needed to know that I'm selling shirts that I buy. It's not a business. It's not anything like that. It's about justice for my daughter. So these women that get on there and say what they say about me, I applaud you. Great for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish out the tape, and then I'll finish out a little bit more of the speech. I appreciate everybody staying up and listening this and watching this and making your comments. I can guarantee you one thing. I promise you guys, I promise with all my heart, I will get justice for my daughter. I will.
Start until after the firemen started showing up.
Right. As soon as the fire department started showing up, that's when she freaked out about her child being in the house. My baby's in the house. My baby's in the house. What? What the fuck are you telling me this now?
Right.
10 minutes ago, I could have done something about it. I can't do nothing about it now.
Right.
Okay, I'd welcome. Beat the fuck out of both of them.
Yeah, they said in the coroner's report, the firemen said that it was 15 to 20 minutes before the mom and the boyfriend even told anybody that there was a kid in the house.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's true. So why wasn't there an investigation of that? Why would somebody wait 15 minutes?
Now, he just sat right there and he was talking about, that, if the mother would have said something to him, he was the first one awake. He was the one to call 911. And before he hung up with 911, he could have told 911 that there was a child in the house, which when the firemen got there, they would have been looking automatically for my daughter instead of coming there and fighting a fire and not knowing it. And he said, you're absolutely right, 100%. It was 15 to 20 minutes before they even mentioned that my daughter was in the house, and that he could not understand why they weren't investigating them for somebody that would wait that long to tell that a child was in a house. They should have been the first person immediately investigated. But then again, it goes back to the coroner's report and that statement from Joy Stanford stating that I hated Kenny and everything else, so that they would look at another direction instead of actually the direction that it was at. Like I said, I don't have to explain nothing to anybody. I've been cleared. I was cleared on my daughter's birthday in 2009, and I don't have to explain nothing to anybody. I can tell you one thing. I will get justice. I will prove who was involved in this. I will prove that negligence was done by not only from the mother's negligence of leaving my child in the house and letting her burn, but also the officials that should have dealt with this case the right way. And that's where I go back to, is telling people that you need to realize if this happened to my child, you can't guarantee it won't happen to another one. And then that's another family going through the same thing again. We need to put a stop to this. We need to put a stop to it now. And I'm hoping that I can make those changes. I'm hoping that people will support me on making those changes. Yeah, I have a loud mouth. Yeah, I use the F word a lot. But sometimes that's the only way you get through to people, is you gotta cuss them. Sometimes they don't want to hear the truth. They want to turn their backs and put it in a shadow state. And that's not how we want this community. I want to see a community where my kids aren't bullied and ain't, like my son. My son went one day to school wearing his sister's shirt with her face on it, and he was bullied over it and was made fun of because my son wore a shirt that was yellow that had my daughter's picture on it. Come on, people. Are you serious? And it all starts with the way the parents are. The parents are what we teach our children. We're that person. And if we can't show, if you look on Facebook, there's more bullying on Facebook than there is anywhere in the world. I don't even know why they call it Facebook. They should call it the bullying page, because that's what happens. It's a drama page. And you know, when I speak my mind, I speak my mind, but I speak the truth. Anybody can come to my house. I've said this 1,000 times. Anybody can come to my house. Anybody can see what I have. Anybody can read what I have. Anybody can do what they want to do. But also, I will not allow somebody to take advantage of me. And I know a lot of people are friends with Derek Myers. I'm going to explain the Derek Myers, and I need to explain the Derek Myers situation. Derek Myers and my ex-wife were friends. And the mother wrote a story to Derek Myers, and Derek Myers was going to post that story on the thing called The Blaze. Back then he had a thing called The Blaze. And I told Derek Myers, I said, if you post that story and those lies, I'm going to prove that those are lies. And if I prove that those are lies, I'm going to sue you. Well, as years went on by, he never posted the story, but I have a copy of what him and my ex-wife and Susan Ray Pohl were talking about. And when I saw what he was going to write and stuff, and I got into it with him, and then as years went on by, I needed some way to get my daughter's story out. I will plead guilty to using Derek Myers to get my story out. Once I got my story out, Derek Myers took it upon himself to go further with it. And he started knocking on doors and telling people that he was a reporter and he was my PI and all. And he wasn't. He was not working for me. He wasn't. He was to put my story out there. And I thought that somebody would have a heart and say, okay, this father, wants the story to get out and what's going on and everything. Derek Myers is the one that took it a little further. And I know for a fact that he wrote some nasty stuff that supposedly he was talking about my daughter had said that night and all that stuff. I never got to read the stories. I was told not to read the stories, and it's probably a good thing I didn't. And I know that a deputy had approached me, and we talked about it, and I watched that deputy literally break down in tears in front of me and said, I can't believe the things I read and what he was writing. But honestly, I did it to get my story out. I knew he could get my story out. I did use that to get my story out. If I'm guilty of it, I'm guilty of it, and I'm being honest with people. He's not my best friend. We don't hang around or anything. I just wanted to get my daughter's story out. And I'm sorry if people have different emotions about her or whatever, but that's the truth. And I can show the letter that him and my ex-wife were chit-chatting and what she wrote him and this Sue Ray Pohl that got involved with it and everything else. So that's the story about Derek Myers. I don't use Derek Myers anymore. So that's how that happened. I'm going to go ahead and play the rest of the tape.
Unless, of course, there was something that you did.
Right. Well, but
Nightmares that are going to come from talking about it.
yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you talking to me. Like I said, I'm just trying to. I know a lot of people has moved now. A lot of people gone there. They're living in other states now and stuff. And I mean, this is my daughter, and this is my whole entire world. And I met your son, and I met your wife, and they both told me, they came to my protests and everything. And I'm doing everything I can on my end. I've been finding stuff. They destroyed her clothes 3 months after the fire. Her clothes were destroyed, so they weren't able to get any DNA or anything off her clothes. They, like I said, there was a coroner's report that was never filed. I'm finding a bunch of stuff out. So, I mean, this is everything to me. I'm glad that I got to speak to you. I'm glad that, but I got your phone number. I will get with the fire marshal and stuff, and I will, I will call you and tell you, hey, this is the person that, it's all right to go ahead and talk to, because I just don't want you to talk to anybody.
Okay, what's your first name? I'm gonna put it in my phone.
Donald?
What?
Donald?
I still can't understand you.
Donald or Rick. Rick Branham.
Okay. Rick. All right, you said when you said Rick. Well, I don't know what. I'm sorry, I couldn't understand what you're saying again. All right, Rick, I'm going to put you in the phone. Rick from Ohio Fire, so I know who you are.
All right.
All right, guys. So that right there, like I said, that's a witness that's never been asked about the fire or anything, and it tears me. It tears my heart in half to know that there's people out there that actually saw this, know what happened that night, seen the fire, seen what the house looked like, what was on fire first. And when you're investigating a murder, those things are key pieces to this crime, and you're ignoring it. And you're still ignoring it because here we are going on 12 years, and here's a man that talked to me for the first time ever, and this morning, and it's still, it bothers him to know, he knows something, and he even called and tried to get somebody there to talk to him and, tell him what happened. And it's just, it rips my heart up in half to know that this is going on in this community. And it makes me start wondering how many more victims are out there. I mean, honestly, in this town, that might think that something wasn't right, but they were pushed to the side. And I can tell you one thing. There's a lady in another state that text messaged me privately, and I'm helping her with how to do things to finances on her son. And I don't care to help anybody. If anybody wants to private message me and ask me any questions of how I got this or how I do this or who to write to and who to, I'm open. I don't care to help anybody, especially when it comes to a child. And I just want to see changes. And like I said, I love everybody. I love everybody that, even the ones that hate me, I love you. I still love you. Sometimes you're guided and misunderstood the wrong way. And, God says you have to forgive, but you don't have to forget. And I live on that. And, I don't know everything yet what happened that night, but I'm getting the picture of what did happen. And that piece of that puzzle is starting to fill in. And the reason that piece of that puzzle is filling in is because people are finally coming out and saying what they remember and what they saw and what they heard and what the mother has said before. They didn't even talk to people that went to school with her or went to the bars with her. I mean, I don't understand. I watched, one of the things that kills me the most that comes out of Vernon's mouth is he tells me to quit watching CSI. And I never watched the show. I don't believe in the show. It's like almost like a MacGyver. The guy has a knife in it and it has 100,000 tools in it. And I don't watch CSI. What I do watch is Dateline, and I do watch Crime Watch, and I do watch the real shows in 48 Hours. And I watch how these detectives go in and they start eliminating people. And here's a funny thing. You're going on 11 years and you haven't even eliminated but one person. Two people, I'm sorry. Two. Me and my wife. That's it. 11 years and then you're going to sit there and say you don't have any suspects. So if you don't have any suspects, please show me the paperwork where you eliminated all these people, because I haven't seen it yet. I can tell you right now, I have 3 suspects and possibly a 4th one. And the 3 suspects I have are the mother, the boyfriend, and the brother. And I also have the other brother that was there until midnight. Until you do your job and you bring these people in and you question them the right way and you do an interrogation the right way and you go over and you find the witnesses that were there that night of the fire and you talk to them and you put it together, you're going to find out that the 3 people, or possibly 4th person, are the suspects. And what should have been solved 6 months after the fire and people put away for the horrible crime that they did to my little girl shouldn't have went 11 years. Shouldn't even go 12 years. Matter of fact, it shouldn't even go past next month. But I know it will, because you have nothing. All these classes you go to, I want to make a little joke because by me making jokes, it does help me understand and it keeps me calm. And one of my jokes is I like to say is, if any of you detectives want to learn how to solve a criminal case, please get a hold of me, free of charge. I will show you exactly how you get a hold of witnesses, how you find photographs, how you find coroner's reports that ain't there no more, how you read notes and you pick out the things in the notes that don't add up to what happened that night. So, you know, if you need help, I'll help you. It's free of charge because I don't have a degree in it, so I can't charge. And I don't have to turn it into the IRS. So if you need help on how to solve a case, please get a hold of me, and I'll help you. So as I stand there, I just want to tell everybody thank you. Like I said before, and I mean every word I say, every time I get something, the community is going to know about it. Mackenzie wants everybody to know. And that's why I do what I do, and that's why I play the stuff I play, and I record the stuff I record, and I share it with the community. You guys are a part of me. You guys are my family. Everybody that watches my videos, everyone that follows me is my family. I would do anything for anybody in this world. And I'm not a bad guy. Like I said, I got friends here that I've just met. I've got other friends that invited me to their house. I met their husbands and wives and stuff. And I'm not a bad guy. I just have a loud mouth. And I'm tired. I'm tired of the bullshit in this town. I didn't move to this community and have 7 children to raise in a community that's going nowhere. And it's not fair to them. And if it means me to get in trouble and be locked up, then I guess I'll get in trouble and get locked up. Will it be worth it? Yeah. Am I afraid to go to jail? No. I'm about truth, and I'm about changes, and that's what needs to be done in this community. It needs to be changed, and we need to get our kids back to the family life. I mean, it's sad you don't even see, families hardly ever do Sunday family meals with their whole family and ask kids how they're doing in school. All that's gone, and it shouldn't be gone. We shouldn't allow the politicians in this town tell us how to run our families and our lives. And we should be able to have neighbors and enjoy our neighbors and share things. And we should be able to kiss our kids and let them go out the door and play with other kids and understand that you get along with everybody, no matter color, race, sexuality, anything. Like I said, I was called the Ku Klux Klan with my march with Mackenzie, and I'm far from that. I've got friends that are colored. I've got friends that are Chinese. They're my friends. Doesn't matter, and I will do anything for anybody. Yeah, I can be an asshole. I'll agree to that. I'll admit that I'm an asshole, but I'm only an asshole to the right people, and I'm not going to change that. And my daughter don't want me to change that. My daughter wants justice for her. So as I leave you guys tonight, all I can say is I love every one of y'all. I would love for everybody to give hearts for Mackenzie. She's the one that's making this happen. And we both love you guys dearly. My family loves you. My friends love you. Stay tuned. Like I said, there's other things coming. I'm waiting for it. When it comes, I'll share it with everybody. And I just know as a community, we're going to solve this. My daughter's going to be a proud daughter in heaven because she knows that this community cared about her and what happened to her. And that's our main goal, is Mackenzie lives through us and lives on. And I appreciate everybody, and I love y'all. Thank you.